Richard, our question today comes from a Christian faithful who is being drawn to non-dualistic teaching. And the question is, I've been following the Christian teachings for decades, but have become disenchanted with their teachings. I am drawn toward a non-dualistic spiritual teaching, but I am feeling a lot of guilt about moving away from my Christian roots. What do I do?
All organization of truth and reality is false. It doesn't matter if it's Christian, it doesn't matter if it's Buddhistic, it doesn't matter if it's Vedic or yogic or Advaita or Advaita Vedanta or. Once you organize the truths that we call spiritual truths, which is to distinguish these truths from dogma or from organized teaching of so-called religions. Once we do that, we have lost the very vibrancy of the truth itself. And feelings of guilt and loyalty and blame and all of the relational, familial dynamics come into play because essentially religions as organized spiritual truth reflect inevitably a family kind of setup, therefore a dependent kind of setup, therefore a childlike movement to a parental force of some sort. And this is true whether it's personified, anthropomorphized or not. In other words, the Tao, T-A-O, the Tao, can be as much that sense of a parental force as Yahweh, as Allah, as the nothingness of Advaita Vedanta, or you say, I don't care which one it is, which you want to hold up as the source of life itself. Once you organize it around a central anthropomorphized or otherwise figurehead of some sort, which inevitably, almost always, is reflected into an intermediary. That intermediary may be Jesus, maybe Buddha, and so on and so on and so on. What you have is a family kind of hierarchy. You've lost truth and reality at this point. What I'm interested in and what we speak about in the way of sacred attention is the truth, the reality, the divine source, the sourceless source of life itself, which if you choose to anthropomorphize, or if you in some way set up a deity or some sense of a path that is set in some way, I suggest you've fallen out of a truly spiritual endeavor. The way is not only unique, it's signless, it's pathless. There's no way of defining it for me, for you, for anybody else. We are already it. We are already here. It already exists in our deepest heart. The temple, the ashram, the cathedral is my heart, your heart. The book for you to read is not one of dogma, is not one of lines of things we should do or should not do and all this kind of nonsense. It is what's written in your heart in the present moment, because the characteristic of truth, of spiritual reality, is spontaneity, compassion, peace, love, wisdom, all these kinds of things. It's not to be found in the book, it's not to be found in dogma, it's certainly not to be found in any organization in which you are assumed to be some sort of dependent or some sort of smaller entity that comes unto the divine presence or something, you know, in abeyance to fall at the feet or at the bottom of the steps and wail that you're sinful or ashamed or full of guilt or blameworthy or any of this nonsense. This is the sort of thing we learn in families, and this has been projected onto a larger perspective, a larger framework of religious historicity, and therefore what we've come to know as world religions across the board. I'm not going to pull the punches with this, and there isn't one organization of religion which is exempt from what it is I'm saying. Not one. Therefore, you're shifting from Christianity to Advaita, if that's what you choose to do. Yes, you'll feel guilty. And I would go into your psychology of guilt and find out what your pattern of guilt is. I'd ask about your relationship with people in your family, because it's nothing to do with religion. It's certainly nothing to do with spirituality. It's everything to do with your personal psychology. And as far as shifting goes, it's a nonsense. Not only because, you know, dogma is dogma is dogma. So what, you know? It's not only because of that, but because if you were to pursue the religious path and you find yourself on one, for heaven's sake, just stay with it. It's no better or worse than any other religious path, unless it's a complete crank organization. But in some senses, they're all crank organizations. There's always somebody who is at the center of a cult, and a cult merely means a grouping of people who come together with similar or same beliefs. So dogma is essential here. Assumptions and expectations are essential here. Come together in this way and to share in some way, in some kind of commonality. The commonality I'm interested in is the fact that we're all unique on a different path, and that we can meet together to speak about what's real and what is happening to us without dogma or belief or even thought. And in this sense, you know, one religious philosophy or another will not make any difference to you. If you're concerned to be religious, then carry on. Don't confuse it with spirituality, and try not to look in a comparative way at different ones. Just go as deep as you can into the present belief system that you're immersed in, because this one thing perhaps religion and spirituality have in common is a monogamy, that you need to be monogamous in either in order to go the distance.